Every year, one of the biggest questions surrounding NASCAR that doesn't actually have to do with the racing on the track at the time has to do with the following year, and that is the schedule. While the whole schedule has not been released yet, NASCAR does not have a set time of when they release the schedule because in some instances, including this year, negotiations are ongoing with certain racetracks or cities or whatever it may be. But there is a report on the 2025 NASCAR playoffs. Yeah, you thought this year got shuffled up quite a bit for the playoffs. Well, we're going to reshuffle once again completely. Certain tracks are getting moved out of the playoffs. Certain tracks are getting moved in. Some of it we already knew. And then there's a big change in the round of 8, the round that gets you into the championship 4, where you can fight for a NASCAR Cup Series championship. Or if the series, like the Xfinity Series, follows the Cup Series schedule, the Xfinity Series as well. But there, as I said, big changes in the playoffs. Some of them we already knew, like we knew Darlington was going to be back in the playoffs. We knew Atlanta was going to be out of the playoffs. They already announced that 2 months ago, that Atlanta would have the summer race back, and that would be the in-season tournament opener. So we already knew a little bit about this. But let's look at the schedule as reported by Jordan Bianchi, and yeah, I have thoughts. I'm sure everyone else does too. Here's your round 1. Darlington, Gateway, Bristol, and then we go to the round of 12. That will be at New Hampshire, Kansas, and the Charlotte Roval. Then we go to round 3, and this is the biggest change in my opinion. Las Vegas, Talladega, Martinsville. And then the championships is Phoenix again, which we already knew. Okay, so we knew Darlington was going to come back, and honestly, under this format, you guys know I don't like this championship format, but if we're going to have it, Darlington absolutely deserves the playoff spot. Darlington's one of the best tracks in NASCAR. It should shine on the biggest stage, and yes, I know that's a crown jewel, and so, you know, it's already shining on the biggest stage in a sense, but adding the playoff element does make it just ups it a little bit in terms of the stakes, I guess. Then Gateway's in the playoffs, and this had been reported on a couple months ago, and I have the same thought for New Hampshire. They're not bad tracks, but they're not great. Like, losing Homestead, I think, is a big loss, but there could be a payoff to it that we'll talk about. It's just Gateway and New Hampshire, once again, they haven't been terrible, but I don't know. I have mixed feelings. But I'm not like super opposed to it, but I'm not super for it. I feel kind of, as I said, in the middle. Mixed feelings about Gateway and New Hampshire. At least they are more normal tracks than Atlanta and Watkins Glen. I don't like this year's playoff schedule having 4 wild cards to determine our champion. So I will say I appreciate that they're putting more normal racetracks in. And also another thing is that they more race like the championship race at Phoenix. So it gives the teams time in the playoffs to kind of work on those style of tracks to get ready for Phoenix at the end of the season. So I guess that's an added element. So I'm indifferent. I'm not life changed. I don't even know if both of those will be in the playoffs long term, but it's a big win for the city of St. Louis. It's a big win for Gateway. Obviously, they just got their Cup Series date for the first time in 2022. And they have since run a great race. They've sold out, I think, every season. They have a loyal fan base. There has been some decent racing at St. Louis. And also, we had a thrilling finish this year with a surprise winner. So it's had its moments. It's had its good moments at this racetrack. So yeah, I think a playoff date could be fun there for sure. As for New Hampshire, it's been in the playoffs before. We've seen it in the playoffs before. Yeah, and then also another added element is that we can use wet weather tires at New Hampshire. So if it rains and, you know, like this year, we don't have to dry the track completely. We can run this thing on wet weather tires. I think that's a great added benefit. I don't know if that was actually a factor, but I'm just pointing something out there. But New Hampshire gets a playoff date back. It is a little bit later, I want to say, than it used to be. Maybe it's the same day. Maybe I'm misremembering. But hopefully September. Surely it's not that cold up there, I don't think. I'm not familiar with New Hampshire's yearly climate shifts in terms of the winter, summer. Anyways, we're getting off topic here. Kansas remains in the round of 12, that's fine. Charlotte Roval as the cutoff still, that's fine. And here's where I don't like Talladega in the round of 8. when we get to the round of 8, this is supposed to be the round that we have the most normal racetracks, we have the most normal races, and this is where our most elite drivers and teams show up and win, or they perform to an elite level that like they are expected to, and they advance to the championship 4 to fight for a championship. You can perform at an elite level at Talladega, but you're still there's a good chance you finish 25th or worse because of wrecks, because of chaos, because Talladega. I'm fine with there being wild cards in the playoffs. This format is fluky enough as is that I'm fine with some sort of wild card in there, or 2 wild cards like we've seen. But why are they in the round of 8? Why are we now shifting a wild card race to the round of 8, the round before we determine a champion? It makes no sense to me. I don't get it. I really don't. I'm baffled by this. And you could say, well, at least there's not 2 wild cards in one round in the round of 12 now, so, you got that problem solved. Well, I'd respond, well, our best teams, our most elite teams, that's the word of the day now, elite, in the round of 12, they have enough playoff points, they can afford a bad race at one of those wild card. In the round of 8, you cannot afford a bad race in a wild card. So putting a wild card in the round of 8 just makes no sense to me, honestly. Vegas remaining in there, perfectly fine. Normal racetrack. We see the best teams always perform the best there in the fall. Kyle Larson last year, Joey Logano in 2022. I think it was Denny Hamlin in 2021. That's a great place to have a race in the round of 8 to determine a spot in the championship 4. Martinsville, a short track. Great place to determine it. And it's got a little bit of a wild card factor in itself. And now it's not always a wild card, but short track racing, beating and banging, quintessential NASCAR, that is a great track to have in there. But taking Homestead Miami out, and I will say I'm not super mad about Homestead being out. If it was a long-term thing, I absolutely would. But the feeling is that Homestead is being moved into an earlier date next year so that they can make renovations, they can change things to make a push for the 2026 championship race. If that's the case, I'm 100% fine with this. Like, Homestead missing the playoffs 1 year, I will sleep perfectly if they get the championship back. Anything to get it away from Phoenix. But yeah, and then Phoenix the championship, as I said, we already knew that. So if you want my grade on this playoff thing, big plus getting Watkins Glen. I love Watkins Glen. It's a great road course, but we don't need 2 road courses in the playoffs. And then Atlanta, we don't need 2 super speedways in the playoffs. So that's a big plus. That's an A+ move. I'll give a B on getting New Hampshire and Gateway in because they are more normal tracks. But, I think we could have, if there was other tracks picked, I might have picked a couple more over it. But anyways, I'm fine with that decision. Talladega to the round of 8's got to be an F for me. I'm not a fan. I love Talladega. I love their facility. I love the racing there. But to determine a spot in the championship, are we serious? And it doesn't help that some of our best guys every year, like Larson, Bell, Reddick, are not the greatest super speedway racers. And I know Tyler Reddick just won there. But I'm just saying, okay? Look at the numbers. We looked at them already. So I don't know. Overall, like a B-, maybe a B, maybe a C. I don't know. Talladega in the round of 8 rubs me completely the wrong way. So I'm very curious what everyone's thoughts are, but Talladega in the round of 8 is a hard no for me. Move it back to the round of 12, or just get rid of this playoff format. That would be my vote, but they're never going to listen to my vote, so I'm just talking to a wall at this point. Anyways, let me know what your thoughts are on this new reported playoff schedule. Once again, I don't know. I don't even know anymore why I complain about it. But anyways, the rest of the schedule, we don't know when it'll come out. But they're trying their best. The biggest negotiation point right now, if they're going to get a race in Mexico City, that is still being negotiated. If it happens, Richmond will probably lose a date. If it doesn't happen, then I really don't know. Did they just keep Richmond with 2 dates or what? And then in the report, it also said if Mexico were to get a race, it would be June 8th, 2025. So there you go. If you're betting on this Mexico race happening and you really want to go to Mexico, there's your reported date. But thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Any other news, we'll let you know. No championship case for the first time in like 12 days. It's weird, but no one else is locked into the playoffs, so can't really make a championship case. Anyways, thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Any other news, as I said, I'll be on top of it. I'll get it to you. Thanks for watching again, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.